Hello, and welcome to the Santaland podcast. I created it just for you. I'm your host, Tony Felice, and each episode I'll read to you for 10 minutes, and then we'll talk about what we just heard. Like the cricket in my story, I'll guide you through a grown-up fairy tale, one that explores ideas of existence, identity, and the soul's journey through trauma, and the transformative power of love. By the end, you'll have heard my whole story, a sneak peek into the creative process of bringing a book to life. Maybe we'll read other books together. But for now, follow the wise cricket and discover the Santaland within yourself, a place of hope, connection, and peace that's already inside of you. This podcast is especially made for those like me who feel a little different and maybe talk about math at weddings or philosophy at funerals. And like me, maybe you have a loving husband, or a wife, or somebody else that loves you. If not, we're here to love you, because you're in good company, my dear friends, here in Santaland. Hello, and welcome to the Santaland podcast. I'm your host, Tony Felice, and I am so grateful that you're here. We are nearing the end of the book and the beginning of the fairy tale very shortly here. Right now, we are in the season of Thanksgiving, and this chapter is number 42, entitled Burnt Offerings. 3 days later, Tom stood on the flagstones outside the cottage door. He surveyed the destruction. Cinders, nothing left, just ash and dreams. But the ocean beyond was blue. Was that enough? It had taken 20 minutes for the fire trucks. The house emergency system was incapable of handling that much fire and that much wind. He went back inside. He couldn't face it. The loss, another loss. Christmas Hill as they knew it was gone. Tom closed the door. The house was cold. Silence. Not even a cricket, he thought. I'm here, Tom. I'm just hiding, feeling for you. He stopped at the stairs, considered the ocean, and thought, that's how I got out of there on that terrible day when I was only 7 years old, because I had faith. He looked for that little voice inside him, but his hurt was too great to hear that frequency. So he went back upstairs to darkness. My antenna, they did that thing that they do unconsciously, like a radio tower searching for a signal, which is what I was doing, holding the signal strong for Tom because he could not do it for himself. It weakened me for a while, but I remained steadfast, waiting on the blank screen of his present moment. Later, Tom sat in the shower in the cottage. Everything was lost. Everything he sacrificed his whole life for. Nothing left. Returning the advance had only left a few thousand. Utter devastation. It was too much for him. He looked at the bottle of bleach left there from before. He considered it. He lifted it. He drank without hesitation. Immediately, he flew himself to the floor, though, and vomited. He kept vomiting until there was nothing left. He cried silently. I could barely hear him. There was nothing I could do from behind the toilet except bear witness to his breaking. He did this act because he had lost all hope. He reversed it because of faith. Because at the end of the worst of losing everything, Tom found that little voice inside him that said, "It's okay, Tom. I love you." On that day, Thomas Sanders was found incorruptible. He found faith in the absence of hope. It's the reason why he made it to Santaland at all. He displayed the ultimate empathy for himself. I could sense it. How do I know? Because when I entered his frequency, I read his mind, and I experienced the I Am come into him, and they interacted in the most profound and loving way. What Tom did not realize was that he felt his own soul interpreting God's love on the frequency that he could handle. He was not ready for the all of the I am. None of you are until your time comes. But when he found the right frequency, he found God in himself, who was there all along, right there in the space in your diaphragm where you know the truth of things. And knowing that changed him. It brought him comfort, so he felt no shame over the experience. He was a warrior in a sense, but his greatest battle he ever won was within himself. I smiled silently and hugged him from afar. He was unemotional when he opened the shower door. Faith restores our center. You know, beloved, there's a backspace and a delete for a reason. He rose, dried, dressed, and collapsed into the mattress. And he dreamed. You might ask what would have happened if he did drink and die. Would we even be talking about Tom? Would Santaland even exist? Would God or the I Am be upset? That is not for us to know. But which answer do you like the best? Do you think there's mercy without condition? That's between you and the I Am. For my part, I'm quite certain of who I am and what I'm here to do. And knowing that is sort of like that math guy said a long time ago. If you question your existence, therefore you exist. Logical. Though I like to say things are harmonious because logic can be flawed. I'm more interested in music than math, though they exist simultaneously like air and water. Why? Because of frequency and the sound of love. Will you hear it? I can play it for you if you like. But we are not here for ourselves yet. We are here for Tom. I think perhaps this is one of my most challenging assignments. I've been with him for some time, and he is beloved to me. I was worried because of freedom of choice, of course, but I knew that in my heart he would choose well, because God sent us a guardian angel when we needed the most, just to be there and to share in the vibration. My wings shuddered and twitched because we shared frequency again, and it was divine. Even in his most desperate moment, Tom could hear the signal. He could hear it from far away, and I could hear his. Quite clear, given the circumstances, really. Okay, that was a pretty tough chapter. And if you or someone you know is struggling, I suggest that you find them help if you can. Be there for them. Make the time for them. And sometimes, if they text you and say, hey, have you got 5 minutes? Then make 5 minutes for that person. As for our character, he has suffered great loss. I have suffered great loss. This is a reflection of my own experiences. And there was a time when I didn't think I was going to be able to pull through from the disappointments that had heaped on me all at the same time. I mean, as bad as you can imagine. Creatively, my character expresses himself through his writing. He is a novelist, a horror and mystery writer. And he is in the process of the sacred act of unremembering, because in order to forgive, you must forget, which means that that person or that thing or that event, you have to detach yourself from it. And then you have to go about the sacred act of unremembering it, which is simply that every time you remember, you shift your thoughts to something else that you like, something that brings you joy. That's what's worked for me, is to stop within 17 seconds and redirect my mind. Because, well, science demonstrates that the observer and the observed are not disconnected. They are instead participating in perception, and that perception is recursive, and we live in a recursive environment, meaning it beats like a heart. It expands and contracts. It expands and contracts. Why am I telling you that? Because I learned that when I lost my mind. I began to look at logic and philosophy and spirituality, metaphysics, everything, trying to come up with some unified idea. And I came up with the Santalan frequency, and it's a unified field that vibrates in love, the most pure love. And you have to vibrate correctly in order for the portal to open. My character has gone through the process of finding themselves. And before you call me crazy, there's a book written in 1929, I believe, called Think and Grow Rich. And it's not about getting rich as much as it's about discovering the secret. In one of the chapters, it talks about a sixth sense, and then it talks about a guardian angel. Isn't that crazy? A book about that. So what I did was I started looking at all these disparate parts and put them all together, and I came up with the Santalan frequency field. Tom, while he has access to the portal, he does not have full access to Santaland yet. And that's why the cricket is there. Like a guardian angel, the cricket serves many purposes in this tale. Not just to be there, not just to chirp, not just to sing, but to raise frequency. So that was my creative choice. How do I describe what I think is pure love in the equation that I'm working on? It's like the single equation that defines the all of everything. Why? Why am I interested in doing that? Because I think I tried to find God. I tried to use science and logic to find God, and I believe that I have. I call it the I am frequency, the frequency of I am, which is in the process of perceiving itself, and through that perception is entangled in the experience. So I hope you're entangled in this experience as I am, trying to unravel the mysteries of life, the hereafter, our purpose for being, even in the space of absolute loss. And think of our friends in Los Angeles who've lost everything. Some of them spent their whole lives building up what they had in the Eaton fire, only to lose it in a few moments. And to find humanity and love in that process. So those are my thoughts for this episode. And I do appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening to my crazy thoughts. Send me an email if you'd like to engage in a conversation with me. But I do hope you'll stick around, because it is my absolute pleasure to do this. And I am so grateful that I have the opportunity to share this story with you and my heart with you. So until we meet again, thank you for listening to the Santalan podcast. Episodes come out weekly. And I'll see you next week. God bless. Take care.